As the Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who is shortly coming to its end, I thought I'd actually talk about it because I haven't really spoke much about Jodie's era. So here we go. Quick disclaimer though before we get into this video. First of all, it's not going to be 5 hours long, but also this is a video that I imagine some people aren't going to like. So if you're one of those people who like something and doesn't accept or take criticism of that thing you like, just go away now. You're not going to enjoy this and I can't be dealing with the hassle in the comments. So with that in mind, let's get into it. So for those of you who don't know, the Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who is pretty much the era where I switched off. Was this down to bigotry? No. Not that the internet wouldn't accuse you of bigotry if you didn't like something, but it is what it is. I just didn't enjoy it, and after series 11 I was like, you know what? Nah, not watching. Plain and simply, did not enjoy it. However, recently, because the era's coming to an end, I was like, you know what, I'll catch up, I'll see what's going on, because I'm seeing people talk about it, I'm seeing people say that, oh actually this was pretty good, that was decent, so yeah, I gave it a go. I wish I hadn't bothered. The thing is, what some people aren't going to understand, from a personal level, not watching it was almost a positive for me. The way that the fandom has been these last few years, especially, it just wasn't fun. And I was like, you know what, whether I like this, whether I don't like it, it's not fun to be a Doctor Who fan. It's not fun to voice your opinion on it. It's not enjoyable seeing what other people think. It's not enjoyable getting involved with other people. I know people, and I've spoken to people about this, and publicly on social media, that's not what they think. They actually hold a negative opinion of certain things in this era because they just don't like it. And yet they're not willing to say that publicly because of how the fandom is. On a, not really professional, because I'm not really a professional at this, let's be honest, but in terms of my YouTube side of things, this era, I could have easily spoke about it in whatever way I wanted, done videos about it, probably got more views, probably got more subscribers, but for my mental health, I was like, I'm not getting involved in this shit. So let's do it now. Hey. Nah, but on a fair note, there are positives in this era. Overall though, I have to say I don't enjoy it. So what are the reasons that I don't like this? Well, first and foremost, I think the writing overall, not just by Chris Chibnall, by pretty much everybody across the board, has not been good enough. There are episodes that are better than others, of course, you get that in every single era, but I just feel like a lot of these episodes fall flat on their ass with conflicting messages that the story's trying to get across, which I'll talk about a bit later. Characters that, again, I'll talk about it a bit later, but don't really feel like they're natural or real. The exposition, my god. And some of the plots just resolve it. In a way, it almost kind of feels like someone who's never seen Doctor Who before was like, the Doctor usually just comes in, speaks a load of shit and waves the Sonic about, right? Yeah, that'll do. The other big thing that I didn't like about this era is the lore changes. But let's stick with the writing. Now, particularly, I want to focus on the characters and the way that they are written. But the characters in particular that I want to highlight here, and this may surprise you, it's not Jodie's Doctor, it's the companions. The companions in this era of the show are incredibly shit. Now listen, not every Doctor is going to have a TARDIS team that is perfect. I think Peter Davison, as much as I enjoy him as the Doctor, he doesn't get a good companion until Peri, and she doesn't arrive until his penultimate story. I don't think Mel is a particularly good companion either. I don't necessarily enjoy her stories or her dynamic with either Colin or Sylvester, but fuck me what I would give for a Mel or an Adric compared to this lot. Again, I'm not going to blame the actors for this because they are reading off of a script, but the problem is that's what these characters essentially are. They are exposition from the script placed onto the set. They don't feel like real people. They don't feel genuine. I can't tell you their motivations, their beliefs, how they would react in certain situations. It feels like that changes depending on the scenario. The fact that you have 3 of them initially as well definitely doesn't help any of them, and it certainly doesn't help Jodie's Doctor. None of them have room to breathe, and they're not given anything that warrants them existing. The frustration for me is that there is genuine potential. That initial 3, so you've got Graham, who has just lost his wife, you've got Ryan, who has a disability that the show seemingly forgets moments after they reference it, and then you've got Yaz, who is a policewoman who doesn't really feel fulfilled in her life. Now, whilst they may seem like very basic things, you can build on them, you can add to them. They never do. I guarantee you now, if you're someone who likes Yaz, it's not because you think that she's a genuinely amazing character and based on the things that she's done. It's because every now and again the story has to stop and they tell you that Yaz is so amazing and so incredible. But based on what? What exactly has she done that warrants all this high praise, like that scene where she sits down with Graham? It made no sense and it was totally undeserved. Graham, speaking of, as a character, a lot of people say, oh, Graham out of the three, he's the best. He is comfortably the best. Like, he's probably the most developed. No. Graham is exactly the same as all the others. The only difference is he's played by Bradley Walsh. You're basing your opinion on Graham off of Bradley Walsh, who you would have seen on something on The Chase. His personality, from him being a TV presenter, naturally will bleed into Graham. That's what you enjoy. You don't enjoy Graham's actual character because he doesn't fucking have any. Ryan is a plank of wood. That's all I have to say. And he's not just is it dyspraxia? He's not just got that. He's also got the whole, he's lost his grandmother. His father is estranged. Why don't they fucking lean into that and not just when they feel like getting emotional? Dan is in the same category as Graham. It's because it's John Bishop. That he is literally Graham again, but now played by a Scouser. But with that being said, how does the Doctor fare? Not well. Not well at all. And again, it's just my opinion. Jodie, for me, doesn't feel like she is her own Doctor. She feels like she's watched a few episodes of David Tennant and Matt Smith and has just gone, yep, I'll do that. It feels like her own natural personality hasn't really bled into her Doctor, or at least it hasn't bled into her Doctor enough. Particularly when she's got a lot of exposition and she's just wandering around. She doesn't really feel like the Doctor. And again, this isn't all on her. This is the writing as well. And I hate when people say, oh, Jodie's a good actor. Don't blame her, blame the writing. It's a mix of two. Jodie could do more with some of this material and sell it, but then again, the writing is quite difficult to sell. And I think the frustrating thing for me as a fan is the fact that there are times in her era where I'm like, fuck me, where is the Doctor? Because whoever this is not the character that I've grown up with. A couple of scenes that I can give to you now as an example of that. Arachnids in the UK, famously a shit episode. You've got the Donald Trump character in there. There's a moment where there's a big giant spider, it's choking to death, but because Mr. Bad American Man wants to use a gun and put it out of its misery quickly, the Doctor gets on a high horse and is like, no, guns are bad, so we're gonna let it suffocate to death. I think what they did there was they've looked at previous scenes, such as in The Doctor's Daughter, where he's like, I never would, and they've used that, but they've not thought of the context of it. I don't think many people, regardless of what your views on guns are, would think, yes, no, letting that creature suffocate in agony for potentially hours is a hell of a lot better than just shooting it in the head. Scene number two that I can draw to your attention where I'm like, where the fuck is the Doctor? Take me away. Or it takes you away. No, hear me now. I can't remember the fucking episode titles. It's the one where there's like the finger thing. You all know what scene I'm talking about. Is Graham's cancer scene in the TARDIS. Graham says to the Doctor, like, because he's had cancer, again, a thing that they really should have lent into more, he was like, I'm scared that my cancer's gonna come back and I really don't know what to do about it. I guarantee you, I don't care which incarnation of the Doctor it is, I guarantee most of you know roughly how the Doctor, the character that we know and love for many years, would respond to that. Turns out whoever wrote that scene did not. She's just like, oh sorry, I'm socially awkward, so I'm just gonna awkwardly walk away and pretend to push some buttons on the TARDIS. Genuinely, fuck you, whoever wrote that scene, because that just shows a total lack of misunderstanding of the character. And it's shit like that that has not helped Jodie throughout her era. Now, I'm not gonna stand here and say that she's covered herself in glory, because I genuinely don't really enjoy her portrayal. I enjoy moments. I think the bit where she's talking about, you know, this group for far too long, people seem to think that it's a even keel, but actually it's a mountain and I'm at the summit. Stuff like that, brilliant dialogue. That's the Doctor. Shit like, sorry, I'm socially awkward, but good luck if your cancer comes back. No, that is not the same character that sat Victoria down in Tomb of the Cybermen and gave a little heart-to-heart about family. It's not the same character who sacrificed their life for a woman that they barely knew on the off chance that, well, he might survive, but even then it wasn't guaranteed in Caves of Androzani. Like, who the fuck is this character? Also, her morals flip and flop between the episode, but then again, a lot of characters that happens. I don't know, I just find it baffling that there's certain moments in this where I'm genuinely questioning if the people involved have ever seen Doctor Who before. Particularly Chris Chibnall, because you've literally been on national TV and spoke about how you thought Doctor Who was currently shit. The irony. Another thing in terms of the writing that has really pissed me off with this era is the mixed messages. Or not necessarily the mixed messages, the conflicting messages. So I mentioned before, obviously arachnids in the UK, that whole moral dilemma of shoot spider in the head or let it suffocate, right? They go with the wrong, in my opinion, the wrong moral decision. I don't think you would let, regardless of if it's a big fuck off spider, and I hate spiders, by the way, even I wouldn't let it suffocate like that. The other one is Kablam. Now Kablam I actually thought was a pretty good episode, up until a point. See, the weird thing is with Kablam, it's very on the nose about Amazon, but very on the nose about sort of, you know, big, bad, capitalist organisations that treat their workers like they're numbers and cogs in the machine and not like actual people. It's a brilliant setting for a Doctor Who story, and it's very in the mould of something that Bob Holmes, I would imagine, would do wonders with this idea. But in the end, the bad guy isn't the corporation, it's an employee, and the Doctor kills him? What? You know what I mean? There's moments like that throughout this era where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And that happens a fair amount in this era, shit like that. And I just don't like it. Oh, Spyfall. I have to mention Spyfall. We know the scene, the bit with the Master and the Nazis. Like, I actually am astounded that that not only made it to TV, but didn't get edited out at any point, and no one questioned it. Like, the Master's now a Asian man, so we will... I can't even... You know the scene, right? Yeah. Fucking hell. One thing that now listen, I don't like Series 11 because, like I say, I think it feels really flat, but I see potential there. The end of The Woman Who Fell to Earth, that cliffhanger where they all end up in space, I genuinely think is astonishingly good. I think it's a brilliant cliffhanger, right? I think that should have been the whole, you know, look for the TARDIS thing. That could have been the whole premise of the series, but no, they have to resolve it really quickly. They do that a lot in quite a few episodes actually, where it feels like, oh, this is a great idea, are they going to let it breathe? No, they're going to fuck it up. And as well, because of that, because the story doesn't feel like it breathes and it feels like it's rushing through, you don't really get to know the characters, hence why they feel robotic. You don't really get a sense of who the Doctor is now, apart from some questionable moral things and some really cringy delivery. That smart boy thing in Woman Who Fell to Earth, I should have mentioned that a minute ago. To this day, can't rewatch that scene, it's horrendous. But yeah, as a consequence of the rushed nature of some of these episodes, they feel underdeveloped, but they also feel like there's a lot of filler in there at the same time. It's very exposition heavy, there's a lot of tell not show. I think there's a scene, I can't remember which episode it is now, but they tell you like, oh, this door's locked. You don't even see the fucking door. Why couldn't we just have a shot of someone trying the door and then they use the sonic and there's no dialogue? Why does every scene feel like we have to have 1,000 fucking words coming from everybody? Thing is with Series 11, I quite like that it, apart from obviously the, you know, they've sort of rushed a few ideas, I like the fact that it's its own thing. I like the fact that they're not reliant on old villains, old monsters, old planets that we've been to before. It just feels like every episode we're meeting somebody new, something fresh, something different. Does it always work? Fuck no. But I like, I mean, talking frog, fucking hell. But I do like that they went in that direction, and I really kind of wish that, obviously they were naturally going to bring back stuff like the Daleks and the Cybermen eventually, but I really wish they'd sort of carried on with that. Am I right in saying that after Series 11, we haven't had an episode of Doctor Who that has featured an original monster or villain? Am I right in saying that? If not, I don't think it's many episodes that have featured something new. Is it Can You Hear Me? No, not Can You Hear Me. It Takes You Away. I can't remember. I always get them mixed. The Finger Guy, he's new, right? But apart from that, I'm pretty sure we've had stuff like the Master, the Sontarans, Cybermen, Daleks, Sea Devils. Fuck me, that was terrible. What else have we had? The Weeping Angels have come back. The Jadoon, of course. Yeah, there's been a fair chunk of stuff, hasn't there? And the thing that's really frustrating as well is they're not really doing these villains justice either. They're just sort of, what feels like, bringing them back because, well, Doctor Who is obviously going to have the Daleks in it at some point. Especially Series 12 onwards, it feels like let's really lean hard into nostalgia and cameos and references. But it gets a bit boring after a while. You know, in Fugitive of the Jadoon, you brought Captain Jack back. Why? What was the point? He genuinely didn't even need to be in that story. But yeah, leaning into all that sort of stuff. It's not just a Doctor Who thing, by the way, so I'm not just going to go in on Doctor Who for that, because Marvel and Star Wars especially, and well, pick a franchise, Jurassic franchise, they all do it. I'm getting sick of it now. I want new, fresh ideas. I don't just want to see references galore, cameos, you know, reoccurring villains constantly. Like, we get it, the Daleks are part of Doctor Who's history. So yeah, let's quickly just go on the lore changes. Fucking hate them. They don't come across like we did this because we genuinely felt like this was the way to go, this was the right idea, this is where the story should go. They feel like, let's do it because we can. And like I say, they're always going to be divisive. People are not always going to like what you do, and I think even some of the most avid fans of this era up until that point, I've even seen some of them go, you know what, fuck you, nah, that's gone too far. I think the problem that I have with the Timeless Children thing is pretty much what I have with the rest of the era, is I can see potential, I can see a good idea there. The way that you've done it though, no, you've absolutely ballsed it up. I think the Timeless Child should be a thing in Doctor Who lore. Like, this is this child that we got regeneration from, and how would the Doctor feel about that, knowing that the Time Lords hurt and constantly murdered this child so they could get regeneration? And it's another reason for the Doctor to hate the Time Lords and to hate Gallifrey. Making that child the Doctor is fucking stupid and takes away the whole point of the Doctor's character in the first place. The Doctor left Gallifrey because he was bored, because he was sick of the establishment. And as we've heard in a variety of episodes, the Doctor wasn't even the most clever on Gallifrey. I think in one of the Tom Baker stories in The Key to Time, Romana says something like he failed his exams. The fact that you've taken that character, who could be anybody, he could just be anybody who just ran away because what was going on the home planet, didn't enjoy it. Let's go out there and let's do some good. That could be you. But no, now it has to be someone who's fucking special and was born special. No. That sucks. The whole Flux thing as well, way too ambitious for 6 episodes. I understand the pandemic, I understand restraints there. But if that's the case, do something different. I don't know. I feel like overall, there is positives of this era and there are reasons for people to enjoy it. I personally just don't. I just find too many negatives in it. I find too many issues that I just think are unforgivable. I think you've got some great actors in this that have been wasted. I think you have some great story ideas that have been wasted. I think you've had an entire era that's been wasted. Whether you are someone who wanted the Doctor to change gender or not, it doesn't matter, it happened, right? That should have been a monumental moment in Doctor Who, but instead you've got people who really can't fucking stand her and think that this change should never happen again based on the fact that this era is so underwhelming. It's not because they're sexist, it's not because they're bigots. That's the easy answer. It's easy to just point the finger and say, well, you just hate women. Are you fucking kidding me? Just because the Doctor changed into a woman, that doesn't automatically mean that it's automatically a great series. The series isn't, in my opinion. And I know people will disagree, and that's fine. But even if you look back to some of the other eras in Doctor Who's history, if Jodie was given the same material as David Tennant, I guarantee you she would be just as popular as him. I guarantee it. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Am I sad that it's ending? No. I'm actually kind of like hoping that I can come out and talk about Doctor Who and modern Doctor Who now without the fear of everyone just having a massive fucking go at me, or anybody, or Twitter just turning into a cesspit of shit. But either way, in the comments below, I dare. Fuck it, I'll dare. What do you think of this era? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever it is, let me know. Be nice though to not just me, but to everybody. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. If you disagree, cool. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. If you love it and you absolutely fucking adore it and you've never seen better Doctor Who, awesome. I really wish I was one of you, but I'm not. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe for more. Social media and Patreon links will be in the description as always. So if you would follow me on any of those things, I'd absolutely love you forever. But till next time guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye.